Hey guys, just working on this new Montgomery board riding lawnmower I picked up. Working on getting the engine running. So, when I first got it, the previous owner had told me the starter was out. And what I ended up figuring out was the switch was bad, and then the ring gear, or I shouldn't say the ring gear, the starter gear was destroyed. So I've got a new one on there, as you can see, and I'm getting ready to kind of give it a test hop and see what it'll do. That engine, it's an 11 horse Briggs & Stratton, and I do have the model number, but I don't have it available. It's just a typical flathead engine. I'm hoping what I'm going to try doing is I'm going to just jumper power straight to the starter, and I'm going to see if it'll turn over, and I'm going to put a little starter fluid in the carburetor and see if I can get it to pop. And if it runs, then I'll probably go ahead and turn my attention to some other aspects. That carburetor is going to need rebuilt, I'm sure. And the wiring is just a mess. Somebody tried to do away with the key switch, and there's an ammeter in there that isn't even hooked up, and so probably going to be doing a full rewire on it. And then mechanical wise, everything looks okay. The deck seems to engage and disengage, and everything seems to be there, and seat is in a bit of a state of disrepair. Transmission seems to work, clutch engages and disengages, so once I can get the engine running, we'll go from there. So I'm going to go ahead and get the jumper cables, see if I can get a battery hooked up, and take it from there. Well, as you saw there, sorry for the lousy video, I don't have a tripod or a helper. I was able to get it to run. Starter worked good. Seemed like it turned over pretty good. Didn't hear any weird noises or clunking or anything when it was running, so that's a good sign. Like I said, the fuel system's shot, so I was just running it off the starting fluid there. I had to use my backup battery, which is actually off my boat. It's been in the shop over the winter on trickle charge. The lawnmower battery that came in it was not quite strong. It turned over, but it real slowly, not enough to start it. I went and put it on charge. The charger said it was only at 30%, so I'm hopeful that the battery was just discharged, and once I get it charged up, it'll be good. So I think once I get the carburetor redone and hopefully get some better wiring in there, we should have her running. Alright, well, I won't bore you guys with the details. There's plenty of good videos on YouTube about how to rebuild these carburetors, and those people can probably show you a lot better than me. But there it is. You can see those nice shiny new pieces. I was actually pretty impressed with this carb kit. It came with a lot of pieces that I normally don't find in carb kits. The gasket here for the top, a new intake gasket. So really good kit. I did go ahead, put a new fuel filter on it, just an inline 1/4-inch fuel filter, nothing fancy. Those clamps, I don't really know if they're required, but they were on here, so I just kept them. You can see that front fuel line is new. This back one here that runs up to the tank actually looks like it had been replaced. I don't know why you would replace that one and not this one. This one was definitely bad. It crumbled as soon as I touched it, but that one seemed to be replaced, so I'll go with it for now. You'd have to undo all this to get to the tank, which involves taking the entire front end off, and I think it's a project for another day. So the line's not leaking, or at least it didn't seem to be, so I think we're good there. So I got a shroud to put back over the starter that I had taken off, and I think what I'm going to do is my battery's almost charged, so I think I'm going to kind of put some gas in it and jump to the starter again with the battery. Just to see, the carburetor's working, make sure there's no leaks and everything like that. And then if all is good there, I think I'm going to have to finally bite the bullet and get my soldering gun out and do some wiring. Well guys, there it is. Started up pretty easily. Honestly, I really can't say much more than that. gave it a shot of ether, lit right off, took off running on its own. Made a couple small tweaks to the carburetor. Primarily the primary and the low-speed jet. Probably going to have to wait till it warms up to do all the final tune, but seems to be running pretty good now. Throttles up and down fine, so yeah, pretty happy with it for now. Watching somebody do wiring is about like watching paint dry, in my opinion. So I've got all the wiring done here. Just wanted to kind of walk through and show you guys what I did. So the key to this, no pun intended, was this new key switch. It was about $10. I got it off Amazon. You can also buy them locally. That switch is critical here because it's actually like two switches in one. It has a switch to ground the magneto to kill the engine, and then it also has a switch to engage the starter and a light circuit. So the whole system starts here with this positive wire. This connects to the battery, and it goes down to the side of the starter solenoid there. Now this wire here is the main fuse wire, and I apologize for the tape. The wire was yellow. I always like my main leads to be red. I didn't have any good tape, so I put that on there temporarily just to kind of signify it as a positive wire. So the power goes through this fuse here. This red wire here goes to the voltage regulator on the engine. That's what charges the battery when it's running. And then this red wire here runs to the positive side of the key. This wire, which also looks red but is actually red and yellow, runs to the solenoid trip. So this wire here is engaged when you turn the key to start. It turns this solenoid on and it sends power down this other large wire to the starter. This post over here is just the ground, so it's just grounded up to a bolt there, same place as this one. The green wire you see here comes from the magneto. That connects to the starter switch as well. And then this black wire here is the ground for the switch. This purple wire is the light lead. I got it connected up to this switch. Haven't went ahead and connected it yet. This ground here is just for the lighted switch. So that's pretty much it. It's a pretty simple electrical system, honestly. But like I said, that key switch is a critical part, because once you have that figured out, that kind of makes it all easier. All right, so there's the battery back in and all the wires tucked under there. I can tell right now this is the wrong battery. In this one, you see the posts are oriented in such a way where they have to be in the back. The wire won't reach around to the front. There's not enough. What I really need is a battery with the wires that are flipped so that I can spin it around and put the terminals out here, but still have enough wire to get to it. The way this one sets in here, and I don't know if you can see it, but the wires, the terminals, are extremely close to this metal piece here, which I don't need why to explain to you that it's bad. See, I put some electrical tape over the positive one there. It doesn't move. You know, none of these things are real flimsy, so I'm not overly concerned about it, but I do think that, you know, if this battery's no good or if it comes time to get a new one, I'm definitely going to buy one with the terminals on the other side. Also, probably going to have to relocate my light switch. Besides the fact I don't like where it sets there, there's virtually no room for the wires. Probably put it out here where this switch is, which I think was originally for the lights anyway. So anyway, with everything hooked up, I'm going to go ahead and test my switch, see if all my wiring works. Maybe it'll start, I don't know. Oh yeah, perfect. Just like that. Yep. Alright, so we for sure know that all that wiring's good. I still have to hook up the headlights, but I'm probably going to move that switch. But for now, I've got it starting under its own power, and that's better than I had when I started. Alright, well, as you can see, I got my tach installed. Put it right over where the ammeter was. Seems to work pretty good there. There's a round hole under there, but the square gauge does a pretty good job of covering it. I still haven't buttoned up my tach wiring yet. I just got it loosely wrapped around the plug wire for now. I'm going to zip tie that off and finish running my wiring. As you can see, I did get the battery flipped around. I think it looks much better that way, away from the controls there. Actually wasn't as hard as I thought. The ground wire was the one that was short, and it was actually connected right at the middle of the engine in the back. So all I did is simply route it around the other side. The positive was long enough to reach around, so that's good. I ditched the switch for the headlights. It was not working. So this factory switch for the headlights here does work. And so since it was already installed, I just went ahead and moved my wire over to there. That's going to be, my next project is going to be go ahead and get the headlights hooked up. I'm debating right now whether I want to keep these sealed beams or if I want to put in a couple of LED work lamps. I have a couple available, so thinking that might be a good idea for some extra light, and actually I think it'd be less amp draw than those sealed beams, and plus I know the LEDs work. So yeah, that's where we are right now. Got it started up this morning fairly easily. The battery was a little weak, so when I first tried to start it, it wouldn't start. It turned over and would pop, but it wouldn't start all the way. So I did have to put a little charge in the battery, but then it fired right up. Looks like I had a couple of gas drips from the main jet on the carburetor that screws into the bottom of the float bowl. I haven't seen it leak while I've been running it today, so I'm going to kind of keep an eye on that. Might need to look into that further and make sure I get that sealed up, but for now we're doing pretty good. So next things on the agenda are the lights and the seat. And I think once I have that done, it'll be in good shape to mow this year, and then probably over the winter next year I'll pull the deck off and go over everything there and make sure everything's good there. On the mower here, I did decide to go ahead and retrofit the LEDs in there. These are actually some I think they're 4-inch square floodlights, or maybe they're driving lights, one of the two. I bought them in like a 10-pack, and I had these two just laying around the shop. What I did, I don't know how well you'll be able to see, is that metal bracket there, I just kind of drilled a couple small holes in the sides and put some self-tapping metal screws into this piece here, and then bolted them on there. They vibrate around a little, so I went ahead and put just some basic Gorilla Tape around the back of them. I'll probably figure out something a little more permanent for that, but they work for now. Then I tidied up the wiring for them, also tidied up the wiring for the tachometer and hour meter. All the wiring there is good. Go ahead and turn on these lights here. So they're pretty bright. I don't know if you'll be able to see that so good, but they're bright, and I probably going to get out tonight and give them a test hop when it's dark. I tried everything I could think of on the carburetor. I'm not sure if I fixed it or not, but I had a leak coming from that bottom screw. The bowl screw was tight, the washer was in there. Everything was like it was supposed to be. I couldn't figure it out. I tried everything I could think of, so finally I resorted to just taking the old adjustment screw from the original carburetor and putting it in there, and as you can see by that rag there hasn't been any drips, and that was probably about 30 minutes ago I did that. So I'm going to continue to keep an eye on that, but I'm hoping that will have solved the problem and that will be good. Now the next project is going to be the seat. I know I've told you guys that one was in rough shape. I happen to have one here that I think is going to make a fine replacement. That's off a forklift. It's a suspension seat, and got it from a friend of mine. So I think that's going to be my next project, is to figure out a way to mount that and get that on there. And then I think we'll be good, at least for the year. And then we'll figure out where to go from there. See, it looks real high because it's a suspension seat, so when you set on it, it goes down. Of course I can't do it without setting on it, but rest assured when you're setting on it, it goes well down. Actually kind of cool to mow with. It takes up all the bumps out of the yard, and it's actually really comfortable. Couple things I noticed while I was doing that test run there mowing. One is the brakes are weak, to say the least. This property here is pretty steep. It's pretty much built on a hill, and I was definitely had a couple moments where I was pushing on the brake pedal and nothing was happening, so I'll have to take a look at that. that's about the only issue I really noticed. I seem to have the float bowl situation under control. I haven't seen any leaks out of there, so that's good. Think what I'm going to do is I'm going to see what I can do as far as getting the brakes adjusted. Might have to look into getting some parts to replace them if all else fails. And then going to change the oil, because I had topped off the oil when I got it. The guy that I got it from said he had recently changed it, and I believe him. But I just would feel better about having it changed. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now, and then I think this is a wrap. So if you have any questions or anything, comment, email me, let me know. Otherwise, I hope you guys enjoyed.